Hi guys, as I'm sure you know, Games Workshop recently just put out a sort of balance update, rebalancing PDF sheet for us to look at, addressing not all the armies, strangely, seeing as there's definitely still a few armies that really need some updates, but it covered some races, some, a lot less than people hoped, like Chaos Space Marines just getting extra hits on sixes rather than an extra attack on sixes, which is, slightly better, of course, but it's not the 2 wounds people want. But we're going to talk about the Chaos Knights in this video, although, Imperial Knights, technically this is the same for, but we're going to talk about the Chaos Knights updates in this video, probably quite a quick video. Now, I haven't made any videos on Imperial Chaos Knights until now. Why not? Well, as you can probably see already from the state of this army, this sort of half-finished army, it's a project that I shelved some time ago. Pretty quickly shelved it. I liked Chaos Knights. I think it's a decent enough codex, and I think that it's got some nice stuff in there. I found some nice body kits, that I wanted to use. So I've got my sort of Thousand Suns household here. But it became clear pretty quickly that they just weren't a viable army. And then, I mean, even knowing that, they ended up then being even worse than I expected them to be. So yeah, they just got kind of put away, and I've never really bothered with them ever since. I'm not normally so quick to give up on armies. I'll play a few games and lose a few times. I only really bother doing one game with these guys. Because it was just so clear that it wasn't just something I was going to get over with a few plays to figure out my tactics. It was the kind of thing where you can just look and you can see before the game's even won that you've lost because the mechanics simply aren't there, and there's literally nothing you can do without your opponent completely just throwing the game for some reason, like they roll all ones and nothing else and that sort of thing. Because that's what the Knights have against them is mechanics. It's not just that they're not great. I've always said they're not survivable enough. I think they're too easy to kill. I think that they don't have enough firepower, and the firepower they do have tends to be wasted on units that it's just overkill for, essentially. But it goes, beyond that into simply not having mechanics. They've got no defense when it comes to deep striking and that sort of maneuverability, counter effects. They can't shield themselves in any way. They pretty much just have to sit there and take the charges from anything that wants to pop up 9 inches away. They obviously aren't obsec. They don't count as any models. They literally can't hold objectives. You're never going to score any objectives in your game functionally. You'll be outclassed by one cultist or something just standing next to you. It's just fundamentally broken essentially for the Knights. There's just nothing they can do unless your opponent is unbelievably worthless. So it got shelved pretty quickly. But we've got an update. We've had an update which has, we're going to talk about the update. I don't think that it's solved the problem by any extent. I think that it's a bit of a half measure, frankly. I don't think it's going to... Well, weirdly, I've been seeing, whenever they report these meta watch things they do, the crap that they do, it's worthless, but, you do see on these meta watch things that somehow the Knights, Imperial Knights, that is, seem to be winning every now and then and getting up the top. I don't know how they're doing it. I'm assuming with allies. I'd be very interested to see those winning Imperial Knight lists, because it's baffling to me how they could possibly compete in an objective-based game, or indeed not just be killed within a couple of turns because of their survivability issues. But they're doing it apparently. So that's the Imperial Knights. Though as for Chaos Knights, I don't think I've ever seen them at the top of any kind of thing competitively. But again, like we're getting into. There are going to be some, minor buffs, I think, but they really could have gone a lot further. So I've got it on my phone here. I will probably, I'll put it up on the screen for you. So first thing is that the armatures count as 5 models, and the big knights, the Titanic Knights, count as 10 models. This already is not good enough for me. I think that it should have been a wounds-based thing. I think that knights should have been at least just 20. count as 20 for the Titanic Knights and count as 10 for the War Dogs. If not, just saying it counts as their wounds, so they count as 24 to begin with, and then count as less as the wounds go down, and the same for the War Dogs. I think that just making the big knights count as, that's still just, 10 cultists, 10 orc boys, 10 guardsmen. It's still not, it's still not anything really. And then, of course, they've given armigers and war dogs objective secured, which is good. But when I first read this, I actually thought that it applied. I thought they just gave it to knights. I thought all knights should be obsec. I've always said all knights, to stand any chance winning any kind of games, they need to be obsec, all of them, and count as a good number of models. So, again, it's like half there. Giving it to the armigers, it's on the right step. It's half there. But I don't think it's going to suddenly fix. It's really. As you can see, this is my army pretty much 2,000 points. I've only got 2 armigers, 3 big ones. I realised that the way to play knights is to have maybe one, not use this one at all. It's too expensive. Maybe have 1 or 2 of these medium knights, and then have 4 to 6 or more potentially. I don't know how many people use. I'd say probably 6 of these armigers, or the war dog. What are they with the chain swords and the melter guns, whatever they are? It seems to be that seems to be the thing to do. So making them count as 5 models, giving them obsec, it's good. But even if these big ones count as 10 models now, they still don't have obsec, which means that, again, literally 1 cultist, 1 orc, 1 guardsman, 1 anything that's got obsec, 1 space marine, just 1 space marine. Still is objective still, even though they count as 10 models, because they don't have obsec for some reason. So they've still got no hope really, even counting as 10 models, because they're not obsec. They've still got no hope contesting with objectives on a board. It's just going to be stolen by 1 space marine. As for the armigers, obsec is nice, but they still only count as 5 models. Again, unless they're competing against some very small squads of infantry, they could maybe steal an objective away from 3 Terminators. But again, I feel like most infantry, even obsec or not, most infantry still going to outnumber them and take the objective. The one thing to say for that, I suppose, is that you do, of course, only count the models within 3 inches of the objective. So, whether or not the army had, the opponent had 5 models or 6 models to steal it from you within 3 inches of the objective, they might not. But, it's not hard to squeeze 6 models or more around an objective. But, it's certainly true that with obsec, if this guy did just edge his base into within range of an objective, there'd maybe be only 2 or 3 models from the enemy unit within range of it, and he'd steal it. And I suppose that's why they've made it a 10 wound thing on the Titanic Knights, because, again, all they have to do is get the edge of their base within range, and bam, that's 10 wounds worth of models, 10 models keeping the objective. And obviously it would be very hard for opponents to squeeze 10 models within range of 3 inches of the objective, and impossible for them to squeeze 20 models within. So I suppose that's why they've gone for 10 rather than 20. But again, with no obsec, you don't need to squeeze 10 models within range of 3 inches of the objective. You just need to squeeze 1 and it will still steal it. So I don't think that this is going to fix them by any means, because, again, it still does nothing in terms of their defense against deep striking units, their defense against incoming firepower. They're still 2 killable. And ultimately their firepower is still mostly wasted. You're ending shooting these Avenger bolt Gatling cannons against some guardsmen, or some giant 6-shot melter cannon against a rhino or something. It's still not really worth it. So I don't think this is going to fix them, but it's better than nothing. It's better than it was, and it's a step in the right direction. I think that they could have really instantly fixed it. Not instantly fixed it, but they should have just given it objective secured to the big knights, because having these guys count as 10 models with obsec would have been really helpful, because, again, it would have been very difficult to get 10 enemy models within range of an objective to take it from them, or 11 even. So that would have been useful, but relegating that to just the 5 model, counting as 5 models, obsec, armigers and warglaves, I don't think that's enough for them. It's still, you're still probably going to get outnumbered. Especially because there's things around these days that count as 2 models. You know, oh, I've got, you know, 3 Necron warriors in range, but they count as 2 models each, so that's 6 models. That's getting a bit more widespread, that kind of rule these days. I think the Thousand Suns just got it. So yeah, you know, I'm not sure about this, but you know, it's better than nothing. It's better than nothing, and especially in terms of chaos, nothing is pretty much what you can expect from Games Workshop these days, so I guess I can't complain too much. Are my Chaos Knights going to see the table anytime soon? No. I still don't think they're going to stand up to anything, but I definitely look forward to a future Chaos Knights Codex, and when we get one, regardless of how good or bad it is, I'll do videos on that. So for now, that's all I've got to say. Please leave your comments down below. What do you think? Has this fixed Knights for you, whether you're an Imperial Knight player or a Chaos Knight player? Has it fixed them for you? Or do you agree with me that it's really still only a half measure and it's probably not going to have that much of an effect on your games? So thank you, and I'll see you in another video.